Okay, so my name is Barry Sendach, and I own a corporation called Corp, and we have various divisions, dome spaces. We sell all types of geodesic domes to all types of users throughout the world. We sell yurts that are authentic Mongolian yurts where yurts originated. We sell and build shipping container homes to all types of people for all types of things. And we sell some modules like flooring and mezzanines and various things that go in domes and yurts. Right now, when we're expanding into other divisions that has focus on outdoor life. That is the focus of the company, alternative housing and outdoor living.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, for all the folks, if you are a landowner, homeowner, or even in the future, that's your plan. And I hope that's in everybody's future because you got to invest in something. And it's surely not into, the things you see on TV that, even the trips. You got to invest in something where you can live, eat, play, grow your families if you choose so. Today, Sir Barry. I'm going to call him Sir Barry because I might have to add King because he's the king of dome houses, the king of yurts, the modular homes for us who, have extra land in different places. And we say, you know what, we don't necessarily need a big house. But we do need an office here. We do need some place for our kids to homeschool. He's going to give us the game on that. So welcome to the show. How are you doing today, sir?
It's great to be here, Kellen. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and having us.
Oh, well, busy is a blessing when you're an entrepreneur. And so if people are too busy, that's when they call me to get them a system to, get them right. But tell me, because I got to know, being from New York, where the yurts might be illegal. New York's a lot like California, where everything is illegal. How did you even get into this, alternative home or office type space business?
That's a great question. I was looking for something different. I had a background I always worked for myself, but my background was in textiles, actually, of all things. We had a family business in New York where we sold home decorative fabrics, and it belonged to my uncle and his partners for years, and the industry just went away. So I wanted to come up with something that people would need, and it would actually help them. Fabrics are always nice because when you decorated somebody's home or office or hotel, you could see it had value. The homes were something that I just said, well, the industry's not going to go away. People always need a place to live. So I started fooling around with shipping container homes. I had a background in importing goods from various places in the world with the textiles. I knew where to go. And I started finding people that made these things offshore. And I started selling some units here and there. And I said, well, for the USA, for all the requirements for coding and everything else that local governments have, it might be better to build them here. So I found a company or a partner that builds shipping containers here. That's his whole business. And we got together, and now we're selling all types of things. Like current shipping containers are, we're building a kitchen for a mushroom farmer. We're building a 6-unit project for a guy in the Bahamas. We're building elevated homes down in the Keys. We're building something for a college professor on the west coast of Florida. We just built a number of, I guess they're called server warehouses, where clients would put computer servers in for a technology company. So they are very versatile, is the point. They could be anything, the shipping containers. And then from shipping containers, so what else can I do? And I started looking around, and I thought these domes were really cool before they even became anything. So I started putting them up and selling them and finding places to buy them. And now we have a network of producers all around the world that make the various products for us, and the custom products, and they're products that we offer to the market. And from there, I found yurts. I was always interested in the next thing because everything isn't going to work. And as I tell people that are, that I deal with that are younger than me or entrepreneurs, I said, don't expect everything to work, and learn that defeat is part of success. And that's the old story that Edison did. He found 10,000 ways that the light bulb wouldn't work, and then he found a way that it did work. So, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, get used to the word no and get used to failing, because you're not going to succeed unless you fail.
Definitely. What do you find, who's your customer? What's the main, like the number one thing people want? I know for me, I want office space, and I want to have my kids have a space. And I'm like, a yurt? Would a yurt work in a hurricane? Is it hurricane proof? That's one of the questions. But, you can answer that and let us know, like, the bulk of the business, especially here in South Florida, that's working out with families. Who is it and why are they buying them?
Well, and in regards to hurricanes, it's a very good question and something that we take pretty seriously. The home that you're living in is not hurricane proof. As you know, if you ever lived through a hurricane, which I've lived through a few now, living down in Florida for the last 18 years, that hurricanes have a mind of their own, and you're not going to be in a dome or a yurt or anything in hurricane. You need to be in a proper structure. As far as a hurricane and the strength of these things, some will get damaged. They could be replaced. The skin, the glass could be replaced. The frames will last with these domes, especially the hard shell domes that we sell. Those are probably the strongest ones in the market. They're called hard shell because they're made from fiberglass and polycarbonates, as a combination, and they'll stand up to a storm, but that doesn't mean that it won't get damaged. So
now, but is it a certain category? Because I think sometimes people get scared to say, "Oh, I heard there was a hurricane there." My wife and I were in Louisiana during Katrina, so there's a different categories. But is there, like, if it's a you can let us know at what level, because some people you just blew their mind. My house isn't hurricane proof. I just spent $100,000 on hurricane windows. What do you mean?
That's exactly right. The windows will be hurricane proof, but you could still lose your roof, right?
You mean my solar panels aren't hurricane proof either? People
those are called frisbees during a hurricane.
Wow. And I have a feeling with you, the way you smiled, that you might have seen a couple fly.
My neighbor, right across the street, her panels left.
Wow. That's dangerous, because you think about your house. Okay, the panels left her house, and where did they end up?
There you go. That's a hurricane. The dynamics of it, there's no rhyme or reason. So, you gotta stay as safe as you can. You stay inside during a hurricane in a proper structure. But, depending on the strength of it, is nothing. I mean, my home's we live in a one-story home, and we're next to two-story homes on either side of us. So, like, the last few storms, we didn't have hardly any damage, but we did lose tiles. We did have some damage. It happens.
Okay, so back to one of my many, I put it all in a bunch questions. Where do you see? I'm trying to paint a picture for the person saying, "Oh, I was thinking about that, but everyone else told me I was crazy." What do you see people buying, whether it's the container homes, the yurts, or the dome spaces? What are they buying them for?
Domes, we sell to campground operators, we sell to individuals, we sell to restaurants, we sell to yoga studios, schools, school districts, hip hop artists, NBA stars, television networks. They go anywhere. Corporate companies. We make custom domes that we just made for large corporations like Vitamin Water. We did a show for CBS bought one for one of their television shows. They go anywhere.
Okay. And are these, can you give a range of where, all of those start? Because I think sometimes people get intimidated and say, well, I don't even want to call because it's probably, more money than I have. But I tell people, you'd be surprised, like, first ask. So while they're listening or watching this content, where do domes start? Where do containers start for that person who is interested?
Well, domes, we have domes that go from 10 feet in diameter and they go up to 194 feet in diameter. They could hold like 20,000 people. And, they have a patented process to build that one. That is for, a large user, a large event company, a concert promoter, because that thing's huge, 194 feet. I mean, your home is probably 60 feet going one way. Multiply that by 3, and that would be the diameter of it. The 10-foot ones, they start around $3,000. We offer financing as well. Right now we have free financing going on, so for a year, so people could take advantage of that. That goes for all the products. The container homes, that's like anything else. What do you want to spend? You could get a bare bones unit for like 20 some odd thousand that'll pass Florida building code with impact glass and a roof feature and insulated properly. Or you could get a 10,000 square foot structure because they're modular. We could just put container upon container until you hit the 10,000 mark, which would probably be about 275 containers. And you will have a 10,000 square foot home. And that would be probably about $1.5 million.
Because the rumor, when you say $1.5 million is, container homes are always cheaper.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you see the home prices in Palm Beach County to build a new home. This is like half of that. And it's just nice when we're finished with it. If you wanted it, doesn't even look like a container. It looks like a regular home.
Now with that, because I've heard people, and I've even had this where you say, okay, we want to have a container home. How much of it am I able to, like, can I see it? Can I feel it? Can I touch it? Or is it just kind of, once it's built, it's built? And I've heard owners say, hey, once it's built, it's done. We ship it to you. The rest is on you. So how do you work?
If you order a home, we could do end to end, meaning we'll get you the plans. We'll pull the permits for you. We'll get the subs to put in the, let's say you need a septic tank, or you live 300 miles away and we need to put a slab down, for it. We'll arrange everything and we'll deliver it to you, completely done.
Okay, handling all start to finish. And is that in the home price when you're buying it, or is that like an additional, fee?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about it. You could choose at any level you want, and we'll do it for you or not.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good stuff, especially with when you talk about home prices and building and supplies, and you want to have space always for your guests, but something about those extra rooms, we find something to do with them. They become offices, gyms, and then you don't want to move your stuff when people come. Got this container home, plus the Airbnb potential is what I'm thinking. That's what I would have thought many people wanted to use it for if they have extra space.
They do. Their property. We get that all the time. We actually we invented our own home. We call it a home in a dome. We'll put shipping containers inside of a dome. So you have a home within a home and you live outside inside, if that's possible.
I love it. What type of futurist are you? Are you going to also be getting into 3D printed homes as well?
I was thinking about that just for a trade show to start making 3D models of the domes because I can't take all of them with me. So we're actually looking into that right now to develop the 3D pieces of these things. But yeah, that would be really forward thinking to make all the components, because you have to have a container is 20 feet by 8 or 40 feet by 8. You have to have the ability to put that in a printer, and that would be huge.
I don't want to go too political, but I've been in meetings, not here in Florida, but in Washington State, where folks try to help with the homelessness by housing people who want to be housed, because not everybody wants to be housed, believe it or not, people. But when we talk about 3D printed homes, I think I first saw it when I read The Future is Faster Than You Think in full detail of like what 3D printed homes are doing in places like Guatemala. They're putting them up in 24 hours. They're building faster than the Chinese. Do you think that there are lobbyists and just, big corporations that don't want to see that type of growth here in America?
Well, you can't stop progress, my friend. It's, if it's a thing, it'll come. If it'll pass code, it'll come. The codes here in the United States are different than they are in Guatemala. So it's just, that's a lot of the problem, even for the homeless, that you just can't put a home up anywhere, but you can put a dome. I mean, they're temporary. They're temporary structures because they're not on a foundation. So that would be easier. That's something we're looking into.
Okay, and so with the dome structures, if they're temporary, how long do the domes usually last, and the yurts? Because that's something that unless you are in the Pacific Northwest or certain places, maybe in the Midwest, you're like, is that a teepee?
We're selling teepees also on our site. We have teepees. If you want one, I'll make you one. The domes, the steel will last in perpetuity. I mean, it's a steel. The cover can be replaced anytime you want. So if you want a different look on your cover, a different color, you can replace it. If you want to let it run, it probably lasts 10 to 15 years if it's maintained. Maintain means cleaning it, any debris, any sap or bird droppings. If you maintain it like anything else, it'll last a good long time.
Okay, so bird droppings can impact. I'm thinking about the dad who he's the same type of guy who doesn't finish his basement or attic because he's like, nobody comes in here. You leave the bird droppings on the dome so nobody comes in here, but that could put wear and tear on your dome if you don't clean it.
Well, you see what it does to your car if you don't take it off in the sun. It'll go through the first layer of clear coat or paint.
Got you. I'm kind of a germaphobe, so I can't see that stuff for more than 24 hours.
I see how clean your pool is. So yeah, I got it.
Yeah. I thank Luis Baja Pool for hooking it up, making sure we can swim in it daily, get my exercise. Now, talking about, good things like exercise, here's a great, business that you have, but you're multifaceted. You also have, you're into Forex, which is something that I've covered before. Can you talk about, your company outside of housing?
We're not involved in Forex. That's just the name of the corporation.
Oh, okay.
Years ago, we haven't done that in years. I just left the corporation open because Containers in Motion was a DBA of that when I first started, because as an entrepreneur, I just didn't want to spend money on stuff that I didn't need. So if the containers worked, I could address it later on. So it's kind of separate from the dome still.
Okay. So people can't bring you their Nano X wallets with all their crypto and say, hey, I need help, and
But the wrong guy for that.
Okay.
But cryptos, as you see, the market's very volatile. I could see where people need help.
Yeah, they need help because they didn't know what they were buying, and I won't go too deep into that, but they just heard a trend. It was kind of like Teletubbies or Furbies back in the day, if you can remember. We gotta have it because everyone has it, and it's
But at least if you had a Furby, you had a Furby. This is just an equation.
Yeah, it's meant for a certain type of customer, and especially if you're like in Africa or other places that you don't want to ask permission to pull some money out, but you got to have a community of people. But talking about a community of people with this community of businesses, is there, and this is going to be kind of a weird question because we were talking about solar, but you have all these different alternative living type homes. I don't know if people are using solar, but is there any type of organization or group where everybody comes together to kind of see what people are doing, or are we not there yet?
I don't think we're there yet, but you have fragments on it. People are making different types of toilets now for outdoor living. They're making solar. They're making battery operated generators. The world is swinging to electronic vehicles. We're not going to stop it. We're going to create a whole different set of problems like anything else, and those will have to be addressed at some point. Like, what do you do with the batteries when they're done with? Where do you bury those? What happens to the car when the battery's used up? It's not worth anything. A gas engine you could fix. You're going to have various problems from things that you improve society or the world with. No pain, no gain, right?
Definitely. It seems like that. As I told you, when I look at what the future holds, I just go back to old George Carlin tape. I was going to say tapes. I should just update myself. I have a 10-year-old say, "What are tapes?"
Exactly.
Yeah, or maybe a 25-year-old that say, "What are tapes?" But yeah, that is definitely true. And I ask that because with solar in some states, and it's a newer thing, but I've had a guest talk about how they're trying to be forward thinking of how if you collect enough energy, you can share that with your neighbor. And I'm thinking like, hey, how cool would the dome space blockchain be? Even if you need different things, you can put it on an app and say, hey, you need help, or if I got another dome somewhere else, I can connect them all. So I live in the Twilight Zone.
No, you don't. That's forward thinking. Why not? That's what I say to everything. Why not? Look at the most successful man on the planet. He doesn't make anything that people even think of. He has a boring company, an electronic car. He's sending people in space, for recreation. I mean, who thinks of stuff like that?
Yeah. I remember when he was, I remember when he was broke and busted, disgusted. And actually, Barry, 1 second, I can hear somebody. We call them the haters. I can hear them say, "Well, don't forget that the government financed him." Yes, the government financed him like it finances the highway. We get it. Okay, we get it. We thank God for the government and him and everyone else. And you could do the same thing, if you want to do business with the government. It's a headache, but if you want to do business with them. Talking about headaches, so when we talk about homelessness and with the success, can you talk about any community give backs that you have done, are doing, or would like to do in the future?
Well, we contacted the disabled American veterans. We wanted to raise money with them to build shipping container homes for the disabled vets, so they don't have to live on the street. And that's been we tried to do a GoFundMe, and it never took off as of yet. But now that we're getting more well known, that's going to be a focus moving forward. And homelessness, I'm talking to people, it's in its infant stages about these domes, but as we were talking about, the issues of building them and local governments, we have to get through all that stuff in order to even do it. So it makes sense. But yes, that's what we're in the process of.
Okay. And when we talk about local government, have you looked into, or have they ever reached out yet to say, talk about Elon Musk. This is something where if we had a whole bunch of homeless people pitching tents, like in certain cities, I've lived in Seattle, it's terrible. And I'm from the Bay Area, and you see it. If people started pitching tents in Boca, in Delray, right by where everybody's, having a good time, it would be a problem. It would be a big one. So has any government reached out? Because it doesn't just have to be here locally in Florida to say we need help. Has that even been on the radar yet of governments that you've heard of?
No, it hasn't been on the radar. But one thing, I learned, and my wife's she's a psychologist, and she dealt with this, growing up. She said the homeless like to be near cities, or like to be near their stuff. So all these governments and local governments have land that they owned, or the county government, like in Palm Beach County, and they could give you land. Because I went to a couple of meetings that we were invited to for low cost housing by Palm Beach County, and they said that the only place that we're allowed as the government is all the way out in away from the cities, and homeless don't like to be away from all their stores and things that they need for their lives, whatever lives that they have. They don't want to be just isolated. So that sometimes they won't go. It's a problem, and it's an understandable problem, because when nobody's going to give them a car and put them out there, they give them a place to live, so they have shelter if they want it.
Definitely, it is so true. Yeah, and so unless you're willing to kind of build the stores and the things that they'll need, it's problems that again, it's big problems, big things, and they'll always be with us. Can you tell the people, have you ever considered writing a book on your journey? It's not something like right now people are saying, oh, this is good, this is cool. You've been on this journey for a long time. I'm sure people thought you were crazy. Maybe even some of the closest people told you, Barry, stick with real estate, stick with finance, do anything but have you ever considered writing a book? And then also tell us, did you get automatic support when creating this business?
I got no support. And if you want to write a book with me, bring it on. I'll sit with you. You have a good personality for this.
Oh, I thank you. You know what I tell my friends and clients? I say, and we've actually been able to do it, and it works out real well. Just talk the book into the microphone, even if it's the cell phone. Let the transcriptionist do her thing. Then we'll let the 2 to 3 editors do their thing. We got a book, and we could put out a book a month if that's what your goal is. I'm old school where I still have to write it on like paper, then I have to type it. But that's also part of I found out 3 years ago I was dyslexic. I always wanted to know what my crazy was. Now I know what my superpower is, and that's probably why, because I have to see it in so many forms to get it right. But I'll take you up, and I'll definitely push you, because no support. You hear young people, especially now, again, I'm not trying to go political, but people are like, well, I want my loans paid back. I paid mine back during the pandemic because I was tired of getting the notices, and my wife pushed me. My wife pushed me to do it. In all honesty, I thought I'd be traveling the world for life and say, catch me when you can, back when I was taking them. But school is not enough. People aren't, they're you going for liberal arts, political science, mass comm like I did, whatever, it's not enough. And people are saying, what can I do to get in your position, Barry? Do I need to go to school? Do I need to study real estate, agriculture? what do I need to get in your position? Because I want my loans forgiven, or I'm young enough where I haven't even taken them yet and I don't know what to do.
Well, there's not one answer to your question. When it comes to school, is school important? Yeah, it'll help you get a job. I mean, you get out of college, I help you get a job. But when my kids were able to drive, I made sure that they had a job so that they could pay for the gas, so the car would go someplace, and they became part of something. And I encouraged them to work through college so that they just don't come out and they say, here's my resume. I went to 4 years at FAU or whatever college you went to, and I was in the this club and that club, but what have you done? So if you worked, one of my daughters worked in a retail store, Steve Madden, for 4 years during college. Here's what she did. And she, they gave her commission. She had responsibility. She was part of something. Part of something is really important, I feel. It's because, listen, the world, when I grew up, we went outside and played. The world now, if my mother would be arrested for what she did, she didn't think about it. Just said, go out, ride your bike, come home when it gets dark, or 6 o'clock. They bought me a watch when I was young. They said, come home, and I did. Now you can't, it's a different world. That world doesn't exist. That world was worked during that period. And this world is a new world. And I guess it's working now, because otherwise it'll change on its own, the same as our world did. And I'm a big believer in that. Start work when you're young, become part of something, have money, know what it feels like, learn how to manage it, and go to school, because you have a better chance if you have a college education, any type of college education. Whether you pay for it, whether you get a loan forgiven, it's an investment in yourself. It's like a business. When they say, oh, a doctor, he took out $300,000 in loans. I said, but that's his business. That's what he invested in himself. And he'll be able to pay it back over a period of years, because he's going to make a good living, and he's going to help people and help the world. Even a person that goes to beauty school, it's going to cost her a fortune. She's going to be like 2,000 hours. You spend $30,000-$40,000 on learning how to become a beautician, but she's going to get it back. You're learning a skill. So that's my answer to that.
And this is me saying this, you guys, that, when you talk about the doctors and the nurses, we have a 2 million shortage plus in both of those career fields. I personally think if you can get the degree in that, I'm biased. You guys know I'm married to medicine, that you should get that forgiven, because you need your doctors. Doctors can't even call out sick. They're working sick. They worked with COVID. Same thing with nurses. And those were, to me, the first people who should, if there was any forgiveness, we need them, because without them, we're all going to be in a bad position.
Yeah, wind the clock back 2 years ago. How'd you like to be the first doctor that treated a COVID patient? These guys were dying. They didn't know. They didn't know anything, but they were frontline workers.
Yeah, I blame us. Again, I blame us, the people, because even when you talked about when you were, a kid and riding your bike, I remember being on the other side of town. And even if you didn't have a watch, you learned how to read the time by that sun. And you could tell, you knew when you needed to be back home, or there were consequences. And the reason why it's not the kids and the video games and everything else. I've actually worked for CPS. It's because people call when even a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old and maybe another 9-year-old is playing at the park across the street from their house, and people call the police saying they're not supervised. I don't know what world that is, but this is why I live where I live, so I don't have to be bothered with that.
Kids can't
play. Doesn't make sense. It's not right. And I'm glad to have been born when you could play and have a good time and have friends, knock on their door, and have a good time. And we're having a good time, but I want everybody to go to your website. I want them to check you out. The links will be in the description, you guys, whether you are listening, wherever you're listening, or if you're watching, make sure you share this with someone. I think this is going to be a need, since we have 40-year-olds moving back in with their parents because they can't find a place to live. And these are, some of them, you know, they're making decent money, but rent has gone up, mortgages, loans, this, that, and people need a place to live. And Barry has a solution for that. So you guys check that out. Barry, any last words?
No, I think that what we're doing is a much needed service. Container homes are just gonna keep going more and more. I mean, it's actually a service to the community, because what do you do with all these containers? You know, people start using them now. We actually take the excess metal and we build sheds out of them for people, you know, for people that want them. So we don't have the waste, and we try to use everything up. So, you know, we help the environment while doing this, you know, in more than one way. The domes are just, you know, great. It's just inexpensive. I mean, we have people living in them in the desert, you know, full time. We have people living in them in Patagonia where it snows full time. And they're just an inexpensive way, you know, to have it. And they're really pleasing. I mean, you go into this dome, it's beautiful inside. It's round, it's open. You know, we have clients that put 2 stories into them, or some of them you could build 3 stories if you wanted to, and you don't have to buy another one. And if you want another one, we could connect it by tunnels. We offer dome tunnels. It's the beginning of something. We'll have to see what that something is.
And is there a showroom that people can go to here locally in South Florida to get an example of how that feels? Because most people, like, I've never been in a dome, I've never been in an igloo. Let me see how that feels.
Well, that's what I tell people. I mean, we don't have a showroom because, you know, there's just like no walk-in traffic where we are. And, you know, if you live in Minnesota, you're unlikely to come down to South Florida to look in a dome. But there are enough of them around where if you went on Airbnb or hipcamp.com and searched dome, you know, within driving distance of you, you'll probably be able to find one or 2 in most locations.
You guys have got that, you know, kind of how to find it, the feel and the price. Any other questions, you got to put your inquiry in. You've got, you know, what you need, basically the basic model, 20,000, but you know, you're going to want to do some customization, might have a convertible roof. You guys think of crazy ideas, and I love it because I think the same way. So make sure, if you do nothing else, you share this episode, this game with others. It will change someone's life.
Hey family, on November 20th through December 1st, 2022, we will have the all-inclusive Kenya trip. Now, a lot of times people have said, Phil, when's the next trip we'd like to go? I want to see Africa for myself, but this is the time to go. Everything will be taken care of. All excursions are paid. You can do monthly payments. You know, they'll have safari and a 6-city tour. You will see Charlie Island, which is something that we did not see last time on the tour. This tour will be 12 days instead of 7 days. So make sure to secure your place on the trip by going to www.wbsvs.com, make your deposit, and then you can start making your payments, and we'll see you in Kenya.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kelly Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.